the long tail that is Lake Erie. First to be revealed after the retreat of the glacial sheets, and last to be explored due to the Iroquois Confederation's stronghold, Lake Erie's history is both rich and mysterious. First noted in 1624, when the Huron people informed Friar Gabriel Sagard of the Erie-The living across the body of water, also known as people of cats, people of La Côte, referred to as such due to the high population of raccoons. The Iroquois Confederation held a staunch guard on both the shore and waterways. French missionaries and explorers simply were not allowed anywhere near it. The Detroit River is the main feed into Lake Erie, but Huron, Grand, Maumee, Buffalo, Sandusky, and the Cuyahoga rivers also feed her. Her water is discharged by the Niagara, feeding Niagara Falls into Lake Ontario. 31 islands rise along the western shores, the Michigan and Ontario sides. Her waves lap onto Ontario, Canada, Michigan, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and New York State. Every drop of water entering her circulates 2.6 years before exiting, resting 571 feet above sea level, 9,900 square miles of surface area, 241 square miles, 57 miles wide, with depths ranging from 3 feet to 241 feet. 116 cubic miles of water. She is the shallowest of the lakes. 50% of the fish in all of the Great Lakes are in Lake Erie. 10,000 water snakes, large and smallmouth bass, steelhead, perch, king salmon, and lake trout. Lake Huron draws into Lake Erie via the Detroit and St. Clair rivers. Shallowest of all the Great Lakes, her waves can kip up fast and furious waves with very short nautical instances, creating destruction. Combined with her east-west orientation, craft can encounter 40-knot winds buffeting 30-foot waves, making a combination more intense and dangerous than the Atlantic. No doubt, this is why there are more shipwrecks in the Erie Quadrangle than the Bermuda Triangle or anywhere else in the world per square mileage. Bermuda Triangle holds about 150 shipwrecks, yet is 5 times larger. Enclosing a region of 2,500 square miles, this hotspot contains over 450 shipwrecks covering the bottoms between Long Point, Ontario to Erie, Pennsylvania. Project Magnet is an impressive endeavor, mapping and cataloging wrecks in Lake Erie. They have chronicled and charted 280 wrecks thus far. Perhaps the most famous Erie shipwreck is the Lake Serpent. This 47-foot wooden schooner went down in 1829 with a load of limestone. Going down near Kelly's Island on the western shore, bodies of Captain Ezra Wright and his brother Robert washed ashore west of Cleveland. noticed as the oldest shipwreck in the lake. All of the Great Lakes. The lake serpent was found, identified, and cataloged in 2018. The Sultan was a wooden cargo ship that hit a sandbar in 1864. She was destroyed by those constantly pounding, short-instanced waves. In 1850, a passenger steamer sunk. She was found in 2006 near Vermilion, Ohio. The SS G.P. Griffin took down between 240 and 289 lives. Erie's beaches are full of sea glass from an estimated 2,500 plus shipwrecks. This treacherous Erie quadrangle holds paranormal histories similar to the Bermuda and Lake Michigan triangles. Topping the 450 wrecks within its parameters, the most fascinating story of its force occurred in 1942. December 2nd, 1942. A large tug, the Admiral, set out with its tanker in tow, the Clevco. They departed Toledo, Ohio. The crew on the Clevco saw the Admiral vanish into a snow squall that seemed to literally materialize with 18-foot waves. Confounding, confusing, because their tow line remained taut. Then they realized it had sunk when the tow line went drop. Shortly after, the crew of 18 on the Clevco realized they were adrift. They were being towed because they lacked propulsion. And they were carrying more than 1 million gallons of fuel in her tanks. She was now subject to the wind and waves and squalls. Radioing the Coast Guard for help, the crew braced for the worst. The Coast Guard arrived in a couple of hours. 2 cutters. One was able to get close to the floundering tanker, but the constant 18-foot waves presented their prevention of connecting a tow line. Then, the 260-foot Clevco also vanished. Coast Guard patrolled for hours, but no signs of the barge. The second cutter that had been deployed to the locale had burst into spontaneous flames shortly after the Clevco vanished. Civilian pilots had caught announcements of this instance on the emergency radio and had flown out to assist. They were able to collaborate the mysterious paranormal disappearances, movements of mist and storm and squall. The second cutter that had burst into flame was able to make it to shore safely, and the civilian airplanes also returned to shore when visibility became 0. These are the reporters of this phenomenon. All 32 sailors on both vessels, Admiral and Clevco, were lost. Their bodies began washing ashore in Cleveland. In 1961, fearing a potential environmental disaster, should a long-draw vessel collide with the wreck of the oil-filled Clevco in reasonably shallow waters, efforts were made to bring the old barge to the surface. More instantaneously, mysteriously, bad weather cut those efforts short. So the decision was made to tow the Klevko to deeper water and allow her to sink to depths below navigation. In 1995, a sheen of leaking oil was detected on the surface of the lake above the Klevko's resting place. Divers were able to attach valves and hoses to pump the oil out of her tanks. Over 340,000 gallons was recovered and removed. The Klevko, now in 78 feet of water, 14 miles from Euclid, Ohio, rested, safe. The Admiral and the Klevko are now popular dive sites. There are star forts. Within the scope of Lake Erie, we have Fort Erie across the Niagara River on the Canadian side from Buffalo, and Fort Wayne, a 5-pointed star fort off the Ambassador Bridge in Detroit. And speaking of the Canadian side, a mysterious oval appears on Google Earth, known as Inner Bay. Offshore from Turkey Point and Long Point, or Fort Rowan, this site is simply mysterious. Obviously pixelated to obscure our view. This anomaly was first brought to my attention by my good friend, Andrew Zabroon III, of the YouTube channel Andrew Zabroon III. This region is a Canadian national park protecting some of the oldest deciduous forests in all of Canada. So what's in that hole? Pyramids? A cenote of primary water? A portal? A vortex? You decide. Cargill and Morton have salt mines under Lake Erie. Under Lake Erie. They mine under the lake because that way they only have one landlord, the state of Ohio, 3 miles under the bottom of the lake. These mines produce 1.3 million tons of salt a year that are used to salt the roads. 1,700 feet below Cleveland, miners enter the elevator that takes them down. This mine is 5 miles wide, growing weekly. Salt being extracted by blasts and front loaders. This mine has been active since 1858 and has an estimated 25 years of harvest. In 1882, a mysterious killer wave hit the north coast of Ohio, an area known as normally quiet for surf. An 8-foot-tall wave hit at 6:20 a.m., challenging most people still asleep in their beds. Another struck the same region in 1942. This time, a 15-foot wave killed 7, moving absolutely everything it could, including barges. Lake Erie is full of bricks washing ashore, believed to have been original street pavers, discarded into the lake after paving replaced them. Accumulating especially on Columbia Road Beach in Cleveland, they have been found as far north as Buffalo. These bricks bear the stamps of production from Wouter Paver, Lincoln Block, Besser Youngstown, Alliance Clay, and Buckeye. Also, off the banks of Cleveland are part of the old Cleveland Municipal Stadium, dumped as erosion support as well as a sort of reef seeding structure. And Lake Erie has plenty of haunted stories. A limestone quarry on Kelly's Island, active in the 1840s, is said to still hold the spirits of miners buried during a strange charge explosion gone bad. An entire ceiling and wall collapsed. Most of their bodies were never recovered. In 1932, a boat capsized near the island. Fortunately, most of the sailors were able to swim to shore, then horrifying the residents with stories of hearing wailing, screaming, and feeling icy hands attempting to pull them down into the water. Kelly's Island is one point of a triangle of 3 islands, including Hen Island and West Sister Island. It is believed to be part of the water area that would have encompassed battles in the War of 1812, which saw innumerable watery and brutal deaths. Plane crashes, formations of mysterious fog banks, and numerous water whirling phenomenon added to many instrument malfunctions in planes. The Fairpoint Harbor Light in Fairpoint Harbor, Ohio, outside of Cleveland, hold the spirit of a playful gray cat. In the 1870s, the wife of the lighthouse keeper became bedridden, and as she deteriorated, their cats became more protective of her. On the day she passed, her beloved gray cat vanished, not to be seen again. Subsequent lightkeepers remarked hearing and seeing this cat frolicking and playing all over the island, as well as laying on their chests and purring at night. An amusement park well known in Ohio, Cedar Point, is also well known for paranormal activities. Sandusky, Ohio, covering 364 acres with 71 rides. It opened in 1870. Though many areas in this region have stories, the most notorious involves the frontier town Carousel, where a ghostly woman was repeatedly seen riding a particular carousel horse before both the horse and the carousel were removed. Story tells of the artist who created the wood horses being caught and outed by his wife for having an affair with a jockey from a nearby racetrack. It seems he murdered his wife and the jockey, burying their remains, perhaps cremated, in the body of one particular horse, a horse painted black with military atonement. This is the horse this mysterious figure was seen riding for years by many park employees. Resurfacing on the night of her murder, her spirit riding the horse, where her remains were trapped. Many employees over the years told similar mysterious stories of music playing when all of the rides were turned off, lights flickering when all the lights had turned off. This black military horse in question has bones carved into the hair of its mane and the jockey's name carved into the name of its saddle. In 1995, the military horse was moved to the Frontiertown Museum, and the rest of the carousel was moved to a park in Dorney Park. Near Cedar Point and Sandusky is a cholera cemetery. Story told that many were comatose and subsequently buried alive, resulting in the very vengeful spirits that inhabit this region. The cemetery was neglected for many years due to fear of infection. In 1849, 5,667 people lived in Sandusky. 3,500 fled when cholera hit. 400 of the remaining died and are buried in this cemetery. It's officially known as the Harrison Street Cemetery, but unofficially, famously known as the Cholera Cemetery. And it's full, as many cholera and yellow fever cemeteries were at the time, of unmarked mass graves. In 1924, restoration attempts were made to clean and restore it. Lake Erie, too, has a monster. You may recall from my video on Lake Superior, where the monster is referred to as Mishipishu. The local name for the Erie monster is Bessie. Her first recorded sighting was in 1793 by the captain of the Felicity, who noted a snake-like creature at least 16 foot long moving through the water near Sandusky. In 1817, the Dussault brothers saw a 20 to 30 foot long creature beached and seeming to be struggling to either get back into the water or heaving its last dying breaths. They noted it had rudimentary arms and shimmering scales. In 1892, a crew crossing Erie from Toledo to Buffalo saw a 20 to 30 foot long creature moving along the waves with sparkling, shimmering fins. In 1876, 4 witnesses watched a creature for almost an hour, frolicking in the water near Crystal Beach, Fort Erie, Ontario, a serpentine creature shimmering with scales. In September of 1990, Harold Bucker was out on the lake with his family to fish. They stopped their boat and were gathering their gear when they all saw a large serpentine creature about 1,000 feet out in front of them. They estimated it to be between 30 and 40 feet long. 5 other witnesses were in the similar area of the lake and reported the exact same sighting. In 2001, several swimmers reported being attacked by Bessie near the Fort Dover pump house. They had large bite marks on their legs and back. Mysterious bite marks not identified to any other creature. Bessie was so named after the Davis-Bessou power plant in Port Clinton, Ohio, where she still is often sighted today. And saving the best for last, the caves of Lockport. There is a 1,600-foot tunnel running along the drop portion of the Erie Canal locks in Lockport, attributed to another reset hack, Birdsell Hawley, friend of Edison and owner, cough, of 150 patents. attributed with being the father of pressurized water. The story we are told goes, it was constructed between 1858 and 1900 by this Birdsell Holly fellow as a hydraulic resource assessing the gravitational force of the descending water to power belts and gyros of the industries above in Lockport, mills and such. In fact, because of this cave, this hydraulic system, Lockport's industry boomed. Assessing what was known as the Flight of Five, which is what the lock system in Lockport was known as, a unique step lock system within the genius of the Erie Canal, Birdsell Holly decided he could build an hydraulic generator, and we are told did. Or did he? Who did? When did they? In 1971, one of the two caves was opened as a tourist attraction and is billed as haunted, even to the extent of being featured on Ghost Hunters, the TV show. There are two caves within the cavern. One is naturally formed with a 10-foot waterfall. It was closed for safety concerns in 1886. The tourist trap is the same limestone and dolomite bedrock tunnel we are supposed to believe was blasted out by disposable, expendable orphans and street children equipped with charges they would insert, light, and then run for their lives, hopefully escaping the explosion. Unlikely, but it makes an entertaining story, as many of the lurid fairy tales invented to perpetuate the reset. Certainly a convenient way to explain the vanishing of orphans and street children. Tourists can now take a boat ride and walking tour with a guide full of these historical and technological fairy tales. The water is sulfuric. You cannot drink it. Nothing lives in it. Why would it be sulfuric? The Erie Canal water hosts life. This is a draw off of the Erie Canal, we are told. Yet, why is this overflow so infested with sulfur? Was it created, as we are told? When it was created, as we are told? This bedrock masterpiece of the Lockport Flight of Five created a 5-step system of locks to accommodate a 60-foot elevation difference in the 360 original miles of the Erie Canal, or Clinton's Ditch, America's first superhighway. Do you still believe pickaxes and mule-drawn wagon flatbeds built this brilliance from Albany to Buffalo? Mists appear in the water of the Lockport caves, as well as voices of orphans, known as powder monkeys, who didn't run fast enough, or the numerous workmen known lost in the stages of construction and renovation for the Flight of Five. This 30-minute tour and ride take you into a realm, that time of mystery in technology, that reset masterpiece of the late 1800s. What is and what was really possible? You still believe children built this? Caverns, we are told, are dissolved by the percolation of CO2-rich groundwater through joints or along bedding planes in limestone, forming a weak carbonic acid that reacts with limestone. The water in the Lockport Tunnel comes from the Flight of Five system of the Erie Canal and returns to it 2,100 feet after its beginning, meaning this water continues to circulate. It is not truly cabin water. It still circulates. So, is there something else going on here? How can this be? Or does the situation cause you pause for you to consider how ridiculous it is to make tourist attractions out of dangerous underground sulfuric acid phenomenon? The Erie-Kononon, the Rikaranon, the Erie-Honon, the Eries, the nation Dushat, the long tail that is Lake Erie.